Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is Commissar here, and today I have another 1 vs 1 StarCraft 2 ladder game for you, and today's game is featuring none other than the Ukrainian Protoss player himself, WhiteRa. He is going to be our red Protoss player, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map today. And his opponent is none other than SortOf, a Swedish player actually, a Zerg player, and he is from the team Western Wolves, the same team as Starman, you may notice, who I cast recently a couple of times against both Stefano and that other fellow, who I forget. Anyway, someone really famous and important. Idra, I believe, actually. Yeah, Idra. So yeah, SortOf versus WhiteRa, and it should be a cool game. This is a ladder game today, and to give you some background info, you will notice that SortOf, as well as being a part of the team Western Wolves, quite a strong team actually when you think about it. In terms of recent results, he's won a ton of European Playhem dailies on the $45 tournaments this year. He's just won a ton of them, like 10 or so. So that's not particularly impressive, as they're tiny tournaments that big pros don't tend to enter. But it does show that he's better than your typical ladder person, and he's never actually gotten, say, a second place this year in one of those, only firsts, so he does win them when he does enter them, showing basically that he is better than his competition over in Europe, basically, in terms of the Playhem dailies, that is. That sort of competition, like, say, Grandmasters but not pros, he's dominating. Other than that, big tournaments, he came second WCS Sweden to Thorazane, and he came second in, I believe it's called something like the ESM Esports Series, another big tournament in Sweden, both of which won him about $3,000, both of which he came second to Thorazane in Sweden-only tournaments. So basically, the picture you get is that Sweden, a big esports center, he is probably the second best player there at the moment, to Thorazane, which is very impressive, but at the same time it does mean that he hasn't actually had any victories for quite some time in any major tournaments. Nonetheless, he did indeed proceed to the next stage of the WCS through his win over in Sweden, yeah. Meanwhile, WhiteRa, of course, you will notice him taking a quick expand, and expand after that Forge, I believe. Yes, slightly after the Forge, then Gateway, yep, so he's going to wall up quite nicely at this little choke over here. Very safe expand, and you can see he did scout very quickly. He decided, okay, I'll go Forge first because the spawning pool's up fast, and I don't want to take any risks. Fair enough. It's really easy to defend this natural on this map, but even so, you don't want to get a late Forge. It sucks to lose that way, I know from experience. But nonetheless, WhiteRa, recently, you will notice that he is from the Ukraine, and over in the Ukraine, he came second actually in his WCS, the WCS Ukraine, which is, to be honest, a lower standard than the WCS Sweden. He did lose to Bly in the finals, 2-1 I believe, taking home $1,000 and the paid trip to the next part of the WCS, which is a good achievement, in that, yeah, coming second, getting to that paid trip stage is what you want to achieve. But really, WhiteRa probably would have wanted to win the Ukraine, and it'd probably be a bit disappointed not to. Nonetheless, Bly is a very good player in his own right, so it's not like a horrible thing to lose to him or anything, but at the same time, yeah, WhiteRa is perhaps a little bit disappointed as he hasn't won anything significant for a long time now. Okay, WhiteRa sponsored by TT Esports, nothing particularly surprising or new about him really, other than at the moment he focuses on his live stream on Heart of the Swarm, and you'll see him playing a very standard opening. Okay, so as this game has developed, you'll notice what? Nothing much has happened particularly interesting. We have seen the third base going down for SortOf at about the 4-minute 15-second mark, so that's pretty significant. Well, it's fairly normal, it's nothing unusual, so it's not enormously important or scary or anything. It's just basically a very common play to make, which a ton of Zerg players like. Stefano particularly famous for doing that sort of play, then maxing out on roaches. I'll have to wait and see what SortOf does with it. You can really do anything you like with it, as long as you hold those 3 bases and you don't let your opponent keep up on bases with you, which is fairly easy to do unless it's a 2-base all-in from the Protoss, so in which case it becomes very close. Yeah, the 3-base plays are just really solid, and they're probably my favourite plays out of Zerg. To be honest, these like 5-minute 3-base builds. But yeah, super common, as I'm sure most of you are aware. So I'm going to see the first Zealot going into the third base of SortOf. You'd say more of a scout than anything else. Ideally for WhiteRa he'd be able to do some damage with it, but that's not the purpose of the Zealot. The purpose of the Zealot is to scout, and any damage is just a bonus. We're going to see him get... Oh! A drone did die there. It looks like to me it didn't die, but then it sort of just fell over dead. So that was a little bit weird, but yep, it is going to be one drone kill for that Zealot. And he is probably going to live here. Speed is not on the way for these Lings yet. A Roach-Ron, however, is. And the big thing at the moment is that WhiteRa, despite being only off gas in his main base and getting that +1 attack upgrade, is actually getting a Stargate. So it will be a 4-gate with +1 attack and with Stargate support out of WhiteRa, which does seem very gas heavy. And he is now getting his 3rd and 4th gas guys, but he has not been saving gas at all for this, but I'm sure he has these timings down in order to make it work. It is actually going to be surprisingly powerful, I feel, as the 4-gate seems very well timed, the Stargate seems to be up and producing. And this looks really, really interesting. It looks like it could be a very potent attack, as usually players go one or the other with either Stargate or like a 4-gate, and most players just go for 4-gate then Robo and go into for the long-term games. But in this case, it will be very, very interesting to see how SortOf will hold this, because really, he doesn't suspect a Stargate yet. Certainly he won't. And you can see, well, I say that as Void is attacking his Overlord, so now he knows about this Stargate for sure. But at the same time, can he hold, as he has to focus on this defense at his 3rd base? The Spine is up, but will be up in time. Zealots demolish Spines without much support for the Spines up. The Stalker does go down, so does the Spine, which is starting to stream out, and there are no Stalkers in this battle quite yet. We'll have to wait and see if they can reinforce with Stalkers or if WhiteRa is just going to lose here. It looks like, oh my god, this micro of these drones is amazing. He is basically just using the drones who do not get aggro from the Zealots to just repeatedly block out those Zealots, destroying their DPS, completely undermining the use of those Zealots, and as such it looks like a very easy hold of the 4-gate component to this attack, but the Void Ray is still running rampant in the base of SortOf and could well threaten the survival of this 3rd base. Zealots being warped in to try and clean up this base a little faster, but reinforcing Roaches could see the end of these Zealots very, very quickly. Meanwhile, of course, the Queens are here to try and deal with this Void Ray. It needs to be pulled back by WhiteRa before it does go down. It's not being pulled back yet. I believe it will fall, and WhiteRa, not controlling his Void Ray, is going to lose it unnecessarily, which does suck. But meanwhile, he is taking a 3rd base, so as long as he can hold on to it, he will be okay. But can he hold it? Indeed, 28 Lings are on the way. More Queens, more Evo Chambers to try and firm up the defenses of SortOf. We are going to see a 1 probe die. The cannon's being cancelled here. These Roaches going to kill that pylon, I believe, as well. Meanwhile, the Phoenixes are over here to lift up and try and defend. Of course, Phoenix is so inefficient against Roaches, even worse than Void Rays. And all these units streaming across the map should deny this base, I believe. 4 sentries and a few phoenixes cannot hold off this many units, and if WhiteRa gets stranded out here, he will be in big trouble, but no. He's just going to pull back his sentries, take the loss of this 3rd base, and hope that he can outlast SortOf in a longer game, try to do some counter damage over at this 3rd base with some aggressive warp-ins, and he may get these Queens as these drones are going to go into the mineral line straight away. We are going to see drones falling, we're going to see Roaches falling. Will we see the Queens go down? I'm not sure. It's going to be close, but no, a Transfuse is going to ensure they do not go down. Meanwhile, of course, the Mineral Harass over here being very, very effective from WhiteRa. Hold positioning on that gas is a good idea, especially if you remember to get your guys off hold position after you're done. But yeah, he is going to get a few drone kills, and a total of what? 7 to 3 worker kills, favouring WhiteRa, but again, it's not big damage. WhiteRa, though, is going to get 1 Queen over here. Might get a 2nd when he has enough energy to. But now, oh my god, he might lose another Phoenix. He lost a Void Ray earlier when he didn't need to. Another Phoenix would be horrible. He can lift up this Queen, though now, if he is watching, and yes, he is watching now, he's going to let the Void Ray, though, clean it up, and that will indeed be a quick cleanup. And spores are starting to go up, though, for SortOf. We are going to see this one complete, despite what this Void Ray is trying to do, although this Void Ray will be out of range of this Spore to get this hatch, and it will be a matter of basically what else does SortOf have. Well, he has a counterattack going, but these Immortals are already up 2 of them, and these sentries have such high energy. I feel a small ball of Roaches like this cannot break that front at all. SortOf feels it too, and as such he's going to try and hold onto this space however he can. If WhiteRa gets this space, he will be basically back in this game on even terms. His disadvantage will be over, and he will, yeah, be in a good spot from here on out. We're going to see a Transfuse on the lifted Queen there. Crucial play there by SortOf, and it's going to scare away this Void Ray with these additional Queens, but these Phoenixes could still go down. We're going to see 1 go down for sure. The remaining 3 will indeed escape, and these 4 Queens are going to hold up this play very, very nicely. And SortOf now looking pretty good again. Suddenly, he's still up a base. WhiteRa's trying to expand, though, so he needs to get that expansion down if he is to stay in this game. I'm going to see Roaches being picked off here, so free units always a good thing, even if it's inefficient to be killing them very, very slowly. Not a big deal for units, are always good. But the big deal is the bases, and the base situation at the moment favors sort of. Economy favors sort of 75 to 54 drones, and the upgrades are 1-1 on the Lings versus 1 attack upgrade, 0 armor on these Stalkers and Immortals. It's Protoss army. The Air Force having no upgrades. So overall, upgrades pretty even. With the transition away from Lings, you will notice that the Roaches only have their one armor upgrade. As such, upgrade advantage probably still with actually 2-2 for the Lings, so it will be a Ling focus in the future. Maybe even Ultras perhaps, but unlikely. But yeah, the Ling focus is going to mean that the upgrades of sort of do favor him over WhiteRa. Supply, of course, being the biggest issue at the moment for WhiteRa. He is behind by over 50 supply at this stage. This Warland very crucial for WhiteRa. It is still open and vulnerable at the moment. The sentries though and the Immortals are here. The question is, can the Lings do anything? Well, not in that spot they can't. In the open, the Lings will demolish this army, but in a little nice spot like this, it's a meat grinder and the Lings will never win all day long. They can be pounding away. They will never break that down. Meanwhile, though, we are going to see sort of continue to be active across the map. But the cool thing about these Phoenixes is that they scout everything. This Observer doing a great job of that too. So yeah, WhiteRa knows reinforcements are coming. He knows big army building up close to my base. He knows where it is. He knows the composition of it. He's probably even going to see when the Hive tech starts coming out. As you will notice, Hive is just finishing now, as are some Corruptors on the way. Colossi 2 on the way, but of course they'll be pretty weak against those Corruptors if the Corruptors are made in high number, and yes, they are being made in high number indeed. 5 out now, 6 out now, with a couple more on the way. Infestor's on the way as well. Yeah, Infestor's finished as well, rather. It's almost getting into that Infest Broodlord stage, with the Greater Spire already on the way for sort of. 4 bases done for sort of, the economy of sort of still being 19 harvests ahead. Overall, sort of looking pretty damn good in this game. And meanwhile, WhiteRa is starting to run low on minerals in his main base. Some of these patches very close to mining out, others less so, but even so, he needs to take a 4th base pretty soon, or he will be in a little bit of trouble in the macro game in the long term. And really, WhiteRa needs to go long term at this stage, as he needs to basically wait until he's getting fairly close to maxed out before he can move out, and he is moving out right now at 150 supply. Going to take a little bit of map control. He knows it's safe to do his scouting. Just wants to see a little bit of his opponent, contain him a little bit, put a little bit of pressure on, so that he doesn't face a big attack of Broodlords and Infestors while he doesn't have anything to deal with it. He wants to be try and make himself a little bit safer, try and slow down his opponent a little bit, and he is really just trying to take his 4th base and secure a little bit of map control for himself. That looks like it will indeed go down uncontested. Mimnolo sort of is still saying a base ahead on that 5th base, so sort of's economy is still looking great. The question is, what can this attack do here? It is quite a small force out of WhiteRa actually. Blink is now done, however. It is indeed going to be a 2 attack and Blink attack with 2/2 Lings to fight it. And it looks like with the Infestors, I don't know how this is going to go. We do have Broodlords morphing right now, making the Corruptor counts very, very temporarily low. But in a few minutes we will see WhiteRa's army being vastly inferior to the army of sort ofs. So really, if WhiteRa doesn't want to engage now, which he doesn't, he certainly won't want to engage in a minute from now. The Mothership, though, is on the way for WhiteRa. Basically, he needs to wait for Mothership now, as he has missed the window without Broodlords. To be honest, he didn't really have the army for that window to exist. But, basically with Broodlords here, it's going to be scary for him, is the big deal. He does have Colossi to kill the Broodlings, but the Corruptors could kill the Colossi. There aren't that many, though. Yeah, the Corruptor count probably a bit too low for that, so it will indeed be Colossi up throughout this battle. We'll have to wait and see if that Mothership is out with enough energy in time for a big battle to take place. It is still 30 seconds away from completion, and the army of sort of moving towards the 4th base over here of WhiteRa, just as it finishes. 5th base going down for WhiteRa, but he is going to lose this 4th most probably in just a moment or two. You can see sort of moving up his Infestors in the front line, trying to get some sort of fungals off. The army, though, of WhiteRa very well positioned to deal with that sort of Infestor play, but not well positioned enough to kill off this number of units. Rather not strong enough. Meanwhile, though, we do indeed see the Mothership has finished. It doesn't have enough energy yet, though, for a Vortex. Archons are on the field with their +2 attack to try and wait for an Archon toilet, but there is no Vortex yet. Mothership now up to 66 energy. It's going to be a while for that Vortex to come down. About 30 seconds more or so, a little bit longer. Meanwhile, though, we are going to see sort of continue to push forward. He's probably going to get this base in a moment, but the Neural Parasite could see this Mothership be killed off here by Infested Terrans. And that is going to force the engage from WhiteRa, blinking forward at this moment. And can WhiteRa save this mothership here? He's going to try and get the Broodlords, but they are all cloaked. And the detection of WhiteRa is nowhere to be seen. And this engagement is so good for SortOf. Continuing to chain neutrals onto that mothership. The 4th base does fall. WhiteRa's army significantly weakened in supply. Unit source tab does favour the Zerg player, who's had a bigger economy all game long. This mothership is now going to fall. And oh, WhiteRa was engaging in the worst way possible there. Great engage from SortOf. That mothership neutral just being obviously the key factor. And of course, no Vortexes, no Archons even left, is going to leave this army very weak, as with fungal growth energy still up, Blink Stalkers will not be able to get underneath those Broodlords and kill them off. And these Broodlords are going to be very scary indeed. More Stalkers are reinforcing this army. WhiteRa trying to go for a base race, but he's going to lose this 5th base, while SortOf engaging on the side a bit here, trying to attack the split up army of SortOf. Going to get underneath and kill 1 Broodlord, 2 Broodlords, but the Infest is doing so much damage here. The Broodlord's kiting back, Queen's transfusing. It's going to be a little close here, but I feel like WhiteRa just doesn't have the ability to reinforce the way SortOf will. We're going to see all the Broodlords look like they will indeed fall, as the army of SortOf was too split up to deal with this. I mean, although the Stalker count is getting very low, the Colossus count though is still there, and this 1 Broodlord is going to die. It is going to be reinforcing Stalkers though for WhiteRa. He is going to try and push his advantage in the army while he still has it though. 7 Broodlords, 8 Infestors, 3 Corruptors are on the way. That is the ability to reinforce that I mentioned of SortOf, and it is very powerful with 88, 90 Zerglings on the way simultaneously, and lava still to spare for SortOf. He is maxed out again already. Meanwhile, WhiteRa trying to warp in more units is so badly struggling at the moment. And we're going to see Broodlords already done, and fungal growth is already here. Lings pouring in, going to surround basically every unit of WhiteRa. Neural parasites on some of the Colossi, and that is going to be the end of WhiteRa's army in another good engage with SortOf. And these reinforcements will not make any difference, as the army of WhiteRa is already dead. And there is the GG of a well-contained WhiteRa. So that game really picked up in the last 5 minutes or so. I did have one little misstep in that battle over here, where I did end up basically exploding from the inside with coughing, so I did have to pause the video recording rather while that was going on. So that may have looked a little bit glitchy, but other than that, a pretty good game. We did indeed see SortOf macroing up really well. Not uncontested, but he did shut down the contention with this really cool 4-gate plus Stargate push. It was shut down really nicely by SortOf in the end. As of course, 1 Void Raise takes forever to kill a hatchery. The Queens get up in time. With the ground being controlled by SortOf, not too much damage could be dealt. Spores, of course, amazing against Phoenixes, because Phoenixes can't lift them up. 1 Void Ray cannot kill 1 Spore one-on-one, unless it's building. That's the time when a Void Ray kills Spores, if he gets there before they're done. Other than that, though, after that push was shut down, SortOf was able to macro up uncontested from that point on, able to contain WhiteRa, deny that 3rd base for quite a while. Once the 4th was up, it got shut down pretty quickly by Hive Tech, and by that point, WhiteRa, unable to get a 4th base up. His tech was not too late, but when it came out, he needed that mothership, and when your mothership is a Zerg mothership, it's cloaking the Zerg units, and it's just being attacked by the Queens at the same time. It's not going to help you win any games. And of course, WhiteRa, from the moment he lost over here, he knew, okay, I have one last chance, and he took it well. I mean, that good engagement over here, this side of the map, it was good. It helped him. It gave him sort of a glimmer of hope, even. Of course, though, a 5-base Zerg is always going to be too much for a single 150-ish supply army from a Protoss player, off Hive Tech especially. As such, WhiteRa, of course, being taken down there, just like that Colossus. And that is all from me for today. So if you did enjoy the video, please do subscribe, please do give me some feedback, and that is all from me for today, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.